A hop to the family, much a hop to the tribe. Welcome and welcome back to another episode of Templar Up. I'm your host and your Templar, Irvin Reed. Thank you for surfing the wave with me because I've been surfing the wave with you. Paxcopia to you and yours from the House of Reed. Today, what we're going to do is not going to necessarily do a part two, but what we are going to do is a continuation of the last video. So, just because we're on these YouTube streets, do what you got to do, like, share, subscribe, just to get the flow going, keep the waters flowing and the fires burning, so that those of us out there that may be new to searching the wave or what have you, that can happen upon this particular video, and hopefully open up the doors for the rest of the flow. So here we go. Now, what I want to do here is the last couple of nights, Brother King has had some really good playbacks on the drop stream, and it kind of got me motivated to get into a platonic flow, as it were. So we're gonna kind of continue what we were doing, but get more platonic about it. All right. So I hope you guys can sit back and enjoy. Now, before we begin, we're going to quickly start off with Brother King here on his Prester John 64, right? The Queen of Heaven. And we're going to let this be the foundation piece, the foundation stone, as we continue to spiral on the information. So, just to keep it, beautiful, just to keep it theatrical. But before we get down to business, hold on, gotta make sure we take care of what we need to take care of. If again, I wanted to send out that special ahab to anybody and everybody out there supporting the wave, supporting Drop Nation, whether it's through the ether packs, whether it's through supporting the different businesses, being a dragon sponsor on the wall, or what have you. So continue to support, continue to show that ahab, and never stop. The water continues to flow, and we're gonna continue to grow. Okay, so now back to Brother King. Because we only talking Swan nights, right? We're only talking Swan nights. So I thought I'd be a little theatrical. I want to show some ahab to real quick. Who is this? This is what is it? Renan Javier Cabrera. Mr. Cabrera, you gonna set the mood and the tone as we go on this journey. Brother King, take the wheel.
The region was called Barber, which is Swan in Hebrew. Barber, Swan. Today, Swan. Now, barber, body bag for you. Barber is Swan. So that gives you a whole nother recon connection to the Berbers and the Barbers, and how this title's being taken by the so-called Moor, but Moor means great. And who are the greats? I mean, I know Ishmael is great. I know Moab and Ammon, have greatness to them too. But who are the greats, my nigga? Let's stop playing. Who are the cons? Who are the seeds of doubt and so on? These are the actual barbers, the Swan, also known as the Knights, Prester John the Knight, also known as the Swan Knights or the Barber Hakazim. And this is why Solomon the Builder, and this is why King David, also known as Ogan, Solomon Bravo, this is why the Bravo is the barber. Are you seeing clear?
Are you seeing clear? Mr. Hobb, thank you, Brother King, for setting the tone as we move forward. And if you haven't done so, make sure you get your Prester pack, man, because it's a lot of information, a lot of flow, as you can see, in the direction that we're gonna go. So we're only talking about those Swan Knights, as it were, right? We're only digging on the Swan. Now, when we last left off, right, we were talking about Hove and how Hove leads back to Job, right? And how all your phantoms and duplications, you know, they're if I've learned one thing over the years is that a lot of these words were people before they were words, such as Job, and those people walked the earth first and created the word. They created that logos, and with the flow for our queens, we've exposed quite a bit. Now, what I would like to do here is go back to the pi root. Now, the pi root meaning to shine, right? Sky, heaven, God. And this is where we were and had dug on a couple of these different names in which we come across Jupiter itself, but we also come across Julius, we also come across Diana, and a lot of people may or may not know that Diana is your statue, your Statue of Liberty, right? Supposed to represent what we got going on here in America. Now, why do I bring this up? Because we were talking about her being a diva, right? How she's a goddess, mother goddess, but I also want you to understand, right? Because we're talking about, especially in that New Testament, right? How it also means this to shine, sky, heaven, God also means assembly, right? Gathered among you. So now let this bake your noodle. When Noah was gathering all the living creatures two by two, that assembly also represented his diet. Okay, it represented his diet. Okay, what he was digging on, but it isn't just that. But we got a understanding now, because we were talking about these divas, right? Or divas. We were. It's been brought up very quote unquote negative connotation and representation. As we understand, Lilith didn't call herself Lilith, and you know, right? So let's dig on a few things here, because with you understanding the connection that Jupiter or Hove relates back to, or is a what do you call it, phantom of Job. Now we have, you know, things kind of go into context a little differently. We can kind of tackle the information and put it together a little differently. That's been kind of hiding in plain sight. Now, the connection when we were last speaking was how Lilith had to been clean if she was going to be on the boat, and how you get this, you know, whole negative imagery that comes with her in that regard. But what I wanted to kind of add and focus is a couple of other things. And as we said before, you know, there's a difference between pronouncing solemnly, and this is where you get your word teach and preach, and things of that nature. Prejudice, ditto, dictionary. You get these also set of words, but most importantly, you get the word judge. Okay, you get the word judge. Now, why do I bring that up? Because I want us to pay. Now, remember, this means to show. Okay, keep that in the back of your mind. Now, we're only talking dragons. We are only talking dragons. And this pi root here, we means to see. Right? To see. And just to make sure that no one's lost their mind on the what's what. I believe I still have it up over here. Let's see here, which one was it? No, that's the Genesis flow. Open up a new tab here for you, because I don't want you guys ever to think that, you know, or be confused with a dragon, because we're only talking dragons. But in order to talk dragons, you know, you definitely have to take a dragonfly perspective. You can't be tied down or tied into one way of thinking when it's multiple ways of thinking. It's all put together. It's all happening. It's all happening. And as we dug on this here multiple times, one of the things I've always brung up about animals, and us getting over our notion and thinking of an animal, is because we're talking about a dragon, which is a genus of an animal called the Draco. Okay? But if you notice when you go up, that a dragon is also a man and a woman. So when we're talking about your Genesis chapter 6 and the flood and things being clean and unclean, this is where we need to pay very, very close attention to. We can't ignore it. Okay? Now, we're talking about dragons, right? Let's go by the etymology. A dragon, right? A fabulous animal, right? Common to the conceptions of many races and peoples. Notice how that they're conjoined, and races and people are separate, okay? Conjoined, but separate, right? When we're talking about a dragon, we're talking about a huge serpent, right? We're talking about a giant sea fish, right? That mocha dick, right? That leviathan, right? It comes from Dirk's side to what? To see clearly. From the pie, dirt, to see, right? Meaning it's visible. I have seen, right? Or the German Zorat, right? Almost like the Zohan, right? Light, clear, right? Meaning light. Now, again, let's slow down and go back. Let's go back to Dyke is to show, okay, that what you're shown, not that what you see, okay. And then weed is to see. Now, when you're talking about weed meaning to see, or a dragon seeing clearly, that means a dragon needs to see his history clearly. He needs to see the story clearly, right? He must have a clear vision. And when you have those things, that means you're what? You're wise, right? You're wise in a way of proceeding, or a way of mannering, how you act, right? You got some wit about you. The what? Mental capacity, right? To know. So again, seeing is believing, according to the root. To see and to know. Okay? Now, why do I bring this up? Because it's a couple of different things going on, and one thing I wanted to express here was the fact that you have to stay on code, you have to stay on code, but you also have to see things not as you want to see them, but how they are. Now, why did I bring up Jupiter and Job, and how it leads back to Zeus or Jupiter and Job connection? Because we all know that Noah had 3 sons. He had Ham, Shem, and Japheth. And this goes back into a question we asked a while ago, which is it Greek or is it Creek? And according to what they're telling us in the histories and the stories, right? The answer to that question is yes. Are they one and the same? No. But is it Greek or is it Creek? The answer to that is yes. Now you have to navigate the waters and the flow to figure out the what's what. Now, Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Now, why is that important? It's important for a couple of different reasons. Because if you understand the story of Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and when you read or learn the story of the Greek mythology dealing with your Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, now all of a sudden things are easily put back together. You know how they say, the names have been changed to protect the guilty. So why do we bring that up? So if we can make a correspondence with Jupiter, then that means the other has got to be around. But at the end of the day, we're also talking about Hades, right? Hades being the firstborn of the firstborn of Kronos. Now, just to keep it simple, I want to continue to make the connect game before I go off too far into breaking it down the Greek god stories. In Exodus chapter 20, it starts off with simply saying that Hawa brought us out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. A lot of people don't read the beginning commandment at the beginning of the chapter, but you need to read the beginning of the chapter as a part of the first commandment. It's all one and the same. You can't negate it, because when you start to cut that out, then these little magic tricks come into play. Okay? Because we're only talking about history, right? In history, a story is a shortened version of the word history. And when it really bakes your noodle, it makes you ask the question, especially when you know the values of letters and vowels, then what is a mystery? So you got history, and then you have like mystery. History and a mystery. Because we don't talk about our lady dragons on the wall, after all. Now, why did I bring this up? Because I wanted to bring up something I wanted to show you, just so that you get context. What's a wizard, right? A wizard is a philosopher, a sage, right? From Middle English, wise, right? Wise, plus the suffix of ard, okay? Which also means what? When you go to Lithuanian, you're talking magic, right? You're talking sorcerer, right? You're talking witch. All from this word meaning to what? To know. The ground sense is perhaps know the future, okay? Meaning the one with magical power, okay? And the occult sciences did not emerge distinctively until when? 1550s, okay? The distinction between philosophy and magic being blurred, it was what? Blurred in the, Middle Ages, okay? It was blurred in the Middle Ages. So when we're talking about the three wise men, we're talking about three wizards, right? That's your flow you get in your new tune, your new test. The three wise men, but that's just a phantom and duplication of your Shem, Ham, and Japhet, your three wise men, right? Your three wizards. Each of them not only was given a land, but they were given a dominion, as based upon Genesis chapter 1. Noah, after the flood, was duplicating those processes, putting them back in place. And if you notice, the first thing he did when he once everyone came off the boat, came off the ark, was what? They built an altar, right? So the first action after the flood was to give thanks and praise. The first action after the flood was a symbolic match to your Genesis chapter 1, where what you witness is rest. Now, so when we're talking about a wizard, now why do I bring this up? Because when you're talking about King Solomon, and we made the connection, and the connection has been made between this Lilith being Sheba, and how he's always connected to these demons, right? And what have you. Now check this out, because we're only talking about to see. So let's look at wise, right? So when we look at wise, Old English wise, learned, gracious, cunning, sane, prudent, discreet, experienced, okay, having the power of discerning and judging rightly, okay. Now, from the Proto-Germanic wizards, let's see here. We're only talking about Weiss or Weiss, right? Now, the adjective witos from the pi root we, to see, hence to know. Modern slang meaning aware, cunning. First attested to 1896, right? The source of Old English witten, to know, wit, okay? A wise man has no extensive knowledge. He has extensive knowledge, he who has extensive knowledge is not a wise man. And that's the Tao, that's Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching, Circa 550 BCE. Now, which is probably, if I remember my numbers correctly on the calculations for those parallel timelines, it's closer to 1550. Excuse me. Alrighty, so we got this understanding of wise, right? Of wise, meaning to see, right? To know, to see. And remember, what's a dragon? A dragon is one who sees clearly, right? To see. Notice that these roots aren't all the same, although similar. And this is where amalgamation comes in. That syncretism comes in. The word play, the word magic, tanning or tannanine, serpent or dragon. This is how that game is played. Now, real quick, so that we can kind of separate the elements, because in the beginning of creation, God created heaven and the earth, and He separated the waters from the waters. And I've stated this for a couple of years now, that to walk on earth is to walk in heaven. So if there's a war in heaven, that means from heaven begins at the bottom of your feet. Okay, and I wanted to kind of show how it is based upon the pie. Okay, so if they say in or on, you have to understand and know the difference. But when you hear, and I'm just bringing this up just for show, so that when you hear certain terms made certain ways, there, even with the simplest of words, there's great clarity that can be had. Now, so the question becomes then, why is it admonished in the script about a seer, right? Now, a seer is one to whom divine revelations are made, right? The agent now from see, the verb, originally rendered Latin vedens, okay, Greek bleptor, from the Hebrew of, am I saying that correct? Rock or roach? I think that's rock. Okay. And this is as in the Bible translations, such as what? 1 King 9:9. Okay. Literal sense, one who sees, is attested from early 15th century. All right. So now you're told to avoid these seers, right? And we are starting to get why that is, because we're only talking about revelations, right? That revelations, right? Let's look up C. C. Old English, right? Sion. Almost sounds like Zion, doesn't it? To see, look, behold, observe, perceive, understand. Understand. You're supposed to get knowledge, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom, right? That means experience. You got to visit, inspect, right? Now, from the Proto-Germanic, now look at this. Swanan, okay? Now, if you've been surfing the wave, you can see Hanan, Anan, Anna, Hannah, right? you see, obviously you see Hawa, right? You see Hawa in that, okay? The old German Sihan, right? So now, again, the Dutch is Sion or Zion, right? From this root here to see, okay? So, what Zion are you looking for? What is your Zion? We only about asking the right questions so that we can see clearly, you know what I'm saying? But just keep in mind that this root here is identical with the definition of the first, which is to follow, okay? Which is to follow. Now, let's continue. Take it to the noun here. What's the C? 13th century. Throne of a bishop, archbishop, or pope. Also throne of a monarch, a goddess, Antichrist. A C is a throne of a bishop, archbishop, pope, a monarch, a goddess, an Antichrist, etc. Yeah, y'all, I can't make this up. You know what I'm saying? So, when you're not supposed to be dealing with seers, who, in the Old Testament, who are you not supposed to be dealing with? But if you're not in that classroom with Brother Joseph, you ain't read Caesar Messiah. You ain't read Josephus said, you ain't broke down the code. Of course. But we're talking about a seer, right? Okay. Any case, too funny. So let's dig on it, and we're gonna cruise on out with this to dismount. So you constantly hear me speak about the 9 worthies. So let's get it again like it's the first time. The 9 worthies are 9 historical, scriptural, and legendary personages who personify the ideals of chivalry established in the Middle Ages, whose lives were deemed a valuable study for aspirants to chivalric status. All were commonly referred to as princes, regardless of their historical titles. In French, they are called les neuf preux, or the 9 valiants, giving a more specific idea of the moral virtues they exemplify, those of solid soldierly courage and generalship. In Italy, they are I Nove Prodi. The 9 worthies include 3 pagans of Hector, Alexander the Great, right? Julius Caesar. The 3 Jews consist of Joshua, David, and Judas Maccabees. The 3 Christians, King Arthur, Charlemagne, and Godfrey of Boulogne. Now, we've been digging a lot on the book of Maccabees and what have you. So when we're talking about, we've definitely been digging on the King Arthur, and you can see that they're all connected. Now, when we broke it all the way down to the snap bone, we realized that it's not that it's 9 worthies, right? But it's 9's worthy. Okay? Who is the worthy and who is the 9? And if you notice, as we've been surfing the wave, we keep coming into the same group. We always got to deal with these same groups, right? But let's go back. I think it was under this one. No, not this one. Which one was it? We're only talking Julius, right? So, to say Julius Caesar, you're talking about the Sky King or the God King, because Caesar means basically king or means Khan, right? So now that you can see through that illusion. take it back. What else was it about the 9 worthies? I wanted to point out real quick about the 9 worthies. Yeah. Now you're going to notice that when you're studying and going through this stuff, this name here, Semiramis, comes up a lot. Okay, it comes up a whole heck of a lot, right? Let's see here. Now this is funny wording. Check this out. The 1459 Interim Codex, I really need to dig on that, presents the coat of arms of the 9 worthies among the largest list of attributed arms of exemplary individuals as the 3, now look at this, better Jews, and then you have the best pagans and the best Christians alongside the arms attributed to the 3 heroes of King David, lost as the first coat of arms, the 3 magi, right? Covered that, the 3 magi, and the 3 mildest princes, the 3 worst tyrants, Nebuchadnezzar, right? We're digging on Nebuchadnezzar, right? All right, Babylonia, Antiochus, right? And then you got Nero, right? King Nero. And now what's even funnier is now that we get dug on the parallel timelines in history, you can see the duplications in the names and the timelines just as we're going over this information here. And then so just the kind of keep your focus. All right, so, and you can dig on it and go through, and you're gonna notice and come across that these worthies plays a lot. But we're only talking about Swan Knights. We're talking about the best of chivalry, right? The best in chivalry. We're talking about Swan Knights. So now, why are we're going over all of this? Okay, so, and as we slowly but surely we're gonna creep to the dismount. What I wanted to bring up here is this is an old drop. This is an old school drop that Brother Lexwell came out with years ago. It never left me. So we're gonna go over this because I need you guys to understand the syncretism. You know, the similarities. These looping time periods, okay, that we're going over, that we keep seeing when you try to put together the timeline and how it all flows together, how it all makes sense. Okay. Now, real quick, because I didn't explain this before, so I do apologize about that. But I wanted to make sure I explained it. So. When we were putting together the actual years, you had 2 flowing of years, okay, based upon certain information saying that they were one and the same. And the most prominent one, okay, happened to be, where was it? Happens to be this one here, 1786, being the equivalent of the year 1200, okay, which is a difference of about 586 years. And this is what we're talking about, the Barbary treaties, right? The Barbary treaties. Okay. Now, when you put together the timeline, and you can see how the timeline loops and flips, when you go backwards in time based upon certain information, it's going to scale backwards, okay? But and as you scale forward in time, it's going to scale forward, and the two dates are equivalent to what you saw especially in the parallel timeline in history, as he was showing you that breakdown. And what you're going to notice here, again, going back to these Barbary treaties, is that when you take it back to these time periods that we're talking about, okay, I'm talking about this Anan Ben David and the St. George, and you're getting into small time loops. Now we're getting into something serious, and again, it's in this time period here, right? 1148-ish, 562 is the beginning of the Judges, and the era, if the era is 510 years, or we're talking about 1258, which will account for the year 672, is the beginning of the Judges, if the era is 400 years. Okay, very, very important. Now we're getting to the Pillar of the Boatmen and how this plays. Now, the Pillar of the Boatmen is a monumental Roman column erected in Lutetia, modern Paris, in honor of Jupiter, which we covered, by the Guild of Boatmen in the 1st century AD. In the oldest monument in Paris, and is one of the earliest pieces of representational Gallo-Roman art to carry a written inscription. Okay, it was found reused in the 4th century city wall in the, I can't pronounce that in French, and is now displayed in the Frigidarium of the Fins de Cluny. Okay, let's get down to the juicy stuff. All right, let's see here. Now you wonder where you get your name, Optimus Prime, right? The main dedication is to Jupiter in the form of Jovis Optimus Maximus, the best, Jove, the best and greatest, right? The names of the emperor and the supreme deity appears in the dative case as the recipient, to the dedication. The remaining theonyms and are nominative legends that accompany individual depictions of the gods. These are in order they appear below: Jove or Hove, right? Tarvos, Trigaranos, right? Like almost like 3 times great. The bull with 3 cranes, Vulcanus or Vulcan, Isus, there's your Zeus, right? There's your Jesus and your Zeus, one and the same. Then you got Serranos, Castor, Demetrios, and Fortuna, right? And the dedication is as follows. And where was it? I wanted to show you. So now, remember I said Louis? You know, can the real Louise stand up? Are we talking about Louis or Louise, right? The pillar. The pillar provides the only undisputed instance of the divine name of Cernunnos. The Gaulish theonyms are presented as the deity names in their own right, not as epitaphs for Roman gods. By contrast, see the many Celtic synchronized with Mars, right? Which we also takes us back to the Zeus, right? Other figures appear in the pillar without legible inscriptions, including the Roman god Mars and Mercury, who can be identified with their conventional iconography, and other identified figures, mainly female. Okay, so on this here, the second tier, and this is what I wanted to get to about the deities. The second tier, which is complete, shows Jupiter, Isus or Jesus, right? Tarvos, Trigaranos, and Vulcan, right? He's the one that gives knowledge from the gods, right? Jupiter is shown standing holding a spear and a thunderbolt. Isus is shown standing beside a willow tree, right? And you get this when you're talking about the Axeman. This Isus is the Axeman, where you get your Christmas tree. And when you're talking about these willow trees, you're talking about people getting chopped down and hung. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about your lynchings. You know what I'm saying? Your crucifixions, right? which he cuts down with an axe. Okay, and then you got Tarvos as depicted as a large, heavy-set bull standing in front of the willow tree. Two cranes stand on his back and the third on his head. Vulcan is shown with the hammer and tongs. Okay, so I wanted you to kind of to get all this and put it all together. Now, and again, as we end, let's take you back to the Picto-paleo, because again, we're only talking those platonic solids, right? We're only talking platonic solids, and the first one is always that fire, but there's more beyond, past the ether, right? There's always more past the ether. Let's see if I can get to it real quick. What is it? We want the alphabet. Come on, computer. Now we're talking about the alphabet. Take it back. Remember, the I and the J, according to the Latin, are one and the same. Okay? They are one and the same. And the letter itself means to throw, to work, and to worship. So what's being added, what's being taken away, and what's being duplicated. Keep that in mind as you move forward. And just because we're talking about that fire, let's just mosey on out with some Mozart. Much hope to the family. Peace.